Keth-Dorian formation filled my scope before I had time to announce it. 11 ships. Heavy class if the mass signatures held. They had come out of transit in a clean line, 200,000 kilometers off our bow, running lights on and active transponders, singing in open bandwidth. Every protocol they were transmitting said the same thing. We came to talk. I relayed the feed to Commander Voss at the center console and watched his jaw tighten as the numbers resolved. Transponders read clear, I said, broadcasting on the accord frequencies, all 11. He didn't answer right away. He was counting silently, the way officers do when they want to be sure before they speak. Hail them, he said. I opened a channel on the standard diplomatic band and read the welcome text the diplomatic corps had spent 14 months preparing. My voice was steady. I had practiced it enough times. Proceed was a frigate, small, fast, built for exactly this kind of work, and our crew of 42 had been selected on the assumption that the first formal meeting with a Keth-Dorian delegation would look something like this. Careful, slow, everything announced in advance. Turn hail came back in 30 seconds. A voice, translated by our interpreter suite into flat standard, acknowledged our greeting and named their lead vessel. Contemplation of the long pause. The Keth-Dorian admiral introduced herself by title only. She wanted to confirm our credentials and the composition of our party. Composition of party, I repeated to Voss, off mic. They're asking who else is with us. He looked at me with the particular calm of a man who knows something he is not going to say aloud. Tell her, the seed is the diplomatic vessel. Tell her she has the full attention of Earth's diplomatic corps. I relayed it. Translation suite put it back into Keth-Dorian harmonics and sent it across the gap. 40 seconds, long enough that I checked my equipment twice. Then the admiral's voice returned, and, even through the translation filter, I could hear the particular quality of someone choosing their next words with great precision. She said, "We have you on sensors. Proceed. We count one vessel." Our intelligence suggested the human delegation would arrive with an escort. Voss said nothing for a moment. Then, tell her the proceed is the delegation. I sent it. I watched the scope. The Keth-Dorian formation held its line, those 11 ships sitting in their clean row, impossibly patient, and I found myself thinking that their stillness was itself a kind of language. They were a military power that had brought 11 warships to a diplomatic contact, and still managed to project the impression of a committee waiting for a meeting to begin. The admiral's next transmission was brief, she said. Then we will proceed. We proceeded. 90 minutes the exchange was exactly what the diplomatic corps had scripted. Voss led from his console. I handled frequency management and logged every exchange in triplicate. Our Xenolicense officer, Dr. Pren, leaned over my shoulder twice to refine the translator's harmonic calibration. Keth-Dorian's speech had registers our suite kept smoothing out, overtones that apparently carried emotional weight the way a hand gesture might. We were managing, but we were managing on the edge of fluency. The Keth-Dorian admiral was methodical. She asked about treaty scope. She asked about resource claims in the Vareth corridor. She asked, at one point, about our population. When Voss gave her the number, she went quiet for 17 seconds, which Dr. Pren said was consistent with recalibration, not shock. I wasn't sure I believed that, but I logged it without comment. It was during her fourth question, something about the operational range, that my secondary scope lit up. A mass return, large, bearing 271, coming from behind the Arvith dust shelf where it had been sitting quiet for the past 4 hours. The return was enormous. Stared at it for 2 full seconds before my hands moved to the keys. "Commander," I said. My voice came out the same way it always does, level, because that is what the job requires. But Voss was already turning before I finished the word. The mass return resolved. 1,700 meters of hull, wedge-shaped, low and brutal, the superstructure stacked like a series of armored ridges along the spine. I had seen the Valen's Ridge in dry dock once, 3 years before, during a layover at Callisto Station. It had not looked like that from the dock. From the dock it looked like construction, like something still being assembled. Out here, against the black, with its running lights coming on one section at a time and its hull still shedding the faint thermal signature of a long stealth run. It looked like something that had been waiting, which was exactly what it had been doing. The Valen's Ridge was a Terran dreadnought, Kestrel class. She had been running silent in the shadow of the dust shelf since before we arrived, positioned there 3 days prior on orders that had not been shared with the seeds. Turd. Command staff which told me everything I needed to know about how seriously the Admiralty had taken the possibility that this meeting might not stay diplomatic. She did not hail us. She did not broadcast. She simply came out of the dark and held position, 12,000 kilometers off our port side, and let the Keth-Dorian sensors do their own math. The Admiral's channel went silent. I watched the scope. The 11 Keth-Dorian ships held their formation, held it for 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 20. And then, very slowly, 2 outermost vessels in the line began to drift. Not retreat, not an attack vector, something else, a readjustment. The way you shift your weight when the thing across the table turns out to be larger than you had accounted for. Doctor. Pren put her hand flat on my console and leaned in to read the mass return herself, as though she needed to verify it with her own eyes. She said, very quietly, "They're recalculating. I sent nothing. Voss had not told me to send anything." Valen's Ridge simply sat there, no hail, no weapons hot, at least nothing the sensors could confirm. Just 1,700 meters of scarred hull and the soft glow of idling engine ports, visible now as amber arcs along the underside of the stern section, as if the ship was breathing. 48 seconds after it appeared, the Keth-Dorian admiral's voice came back on the channel. She did not ask about the dreadnought. She did not protest its presence. She said, in a register, that Dr. Pren later described as the harmonic signature of a senior authority, acknowledging a fact she had not previously possessed. Told humanity's expansion was gradual. Voss said carefully, "It has been." Another pause, shorter this time. Then the admiral said, "How many vessels of that class do you operate?" I had the answer in my logs. It was unclassified. Part of the standard disclosure package the diplomatic corps had approved for this meeting. I looked at Voss. He nodded once. The figure into the channel. The Keth-Dorian formation went still in a different way than it had been still before. Before, it had been the stillness of patience. This was the stillness of 11 ships, and every person aboard them doing the same arithmetic at the same moment. The admiral spoke again. The translator rendered it cleanly, but Dr. Pren put her finger to the audio feed and replayed it twice before she looked up at me. "She's asking," Dr. Pren said slowly, "whether the ship was here when we arrived. Whether it was already in position before the meeting began." Voss folded his hands on the console, took a breath. "Tell her yes, I sent it." The silence that followed lasted 4 minutes and 11 seconds. I know because I was watching the clock on my secondary display, and I did not look away. The Valen's Ridge did not move. The Keth-Dorian formation did not move. Perseid held station between them, 42 people doing their jobs and not speaking. When the admiral's voice returned, it was measured and clear and carried none of the recalibration quality Dr. Pren had noted earlier. It carried something else. Something the translator rendered as a statement, but that, Dr. Pren said, was grammatically closer. In Keth-Dorian, a question a speaker already knows the answer to. The admiral said, "Then you have been ready." Voss said nothing. He didn't need to. Valen's Ridge had already answered that 4 minutes ago, just by being there. I logged the exchange. I noted the time. I noted the admiral's phrasing and Dr. Pren's annotation beside it, and the 4 minutes and 11 seconds of silence that had preceded it. Then, I opened the diplomatic channel and read the next line of the Corps-approved because the meeting was not finished, and we still had work to do. The Keth-Dorian admiral answered, and this time her voice had changed in a way the translator could not fully explain, that I understood anyway. She was speaking to us differently now, not to a delegation, not to a frigate, to a species that had been ready before she arrived.